Okay, so that's triggering laws.
Mm-hmm.
Then you talked about the laws that regulate the internal mediation process. Tell us more about that.
So what happens in the mediation room, that's the mediation process, right? So when and I imagine many of the listeners here will be people who have done mediation skills training or perhaps even be qualified as mediators. When you do a mediation training, you typically focus on what happens in the mediation room. And that's the flexible process. How is that managed? How is that regulated? Typically by your agreement to mediate, and what you will normally do in the agreement to mediate is incorporate the guidelines or mediation rules of an institution or, for example, an industry. In Australia, for example, the franchising industry has its own set of mediation rules, right, and its own mediation model. In many countries, community mediation will have a particular model that they use. And if you go to a community mediator and sign an agreement to mediate, then that will automatically incorporate that particular model. Some institutional rules have very strict models and others are a little bit more flexible. But the important thing is actually that in most countries, if you just say, we are going to mediate full stop, and don't explain what it is, there's a really good chance that that agreement is not enforceable because it's not clear enough what you're going to do. You know, you need to know where's the beginning of mediation, what's going to happen in the middle, and how do we know that it's over.
Okay, so these internal mediation, the laws that regulate the internal mediation process, soft or hard or a mixture of both?
Soft. Look, the reality is that, different countries will regulate in different ways, right? So when I'm giving you examples, I'm giving you examples of what you will typically find, right? You will find, for example, in some pieces of legislation that some aspects of the mediation process might be regulated. For example, UNCITRAL have a model law on international commercial conciliation, the United Nations Commission for International Trade Law. And that was adopted in 2002, I think. And they have one or two provisions which touch on the mediation process, but they don't set out the whole process. Okay. But, for example, they've got a provision which says that mediators, something along the lines of the mediators can make proposals. Okay? And also another provision which suggests that mediators can have private sessions. Now, not all mediation models foresee private sessions.
Yeah.
But the fact that they have that means that it's envisaged in that model. Yeah.